What if a single prison transfer could reignite one of the most controversial debates surrounding a former reality television star? A surprising development has once again thrust Josh Duggar into the national spotlight. Reports that he may have been transferred to a federal medical center have triggered a wave of speculation, concern, and heated discussion across social media and news platforms. Almost immediately, questions began circulating. Why was he transferred? What exactly is a federal medical center? And perhaps most controversially, could such a move affect visitation rules involving minor children? For many people, the situation seems confusing. Federal prison transfers are not uncommon, yet when they involve a high-profile inmate with a widely publicized criminal case, every detail becomes the subject of intense scrutiny. Rumors spread rapidly, assumptions take hold, and separating fact from speculation becomes increasingly difficult. To understand why this story has generated such strong reactions, it's important to first understand how the federal prison system actually works. Inmates can be transferred between facilities for many different reasons. Some transfers occur because specialized medical treatment is needed. Others happen for administrative purposes, security concerns, rehabilitation programs, or changes in inmate classification. A transfer alone does not necessarily indicate special treatment, unusual privileges, or changes to existing restrictions. Yet in Josh Duggar's case, public attention remains exceptionally high because of both his former television fame and the nature of the offenses that resulted in his conviction. Years after his legal troubles dominated headlines, every reported development continues to attract enormous interest. Supporters, critics, and curious observers alike are all asking the same question: what does this latest development actually mean? The answer may be far more complicated than many headlines suggest. Throughout this video, we'll take a detailed look at federal medical centers, the reasons inmates are transferred to them, the rules governing visitation within the federal prison system, and the specific regulations that apply when minor children are involved. We'll examine what is publicly known, what remains unconfirmed, and why understanding the distinction between fact and rumor is so important. Because when a story involves a figure as controversial as Josh Duggar, speculation often travels faster than the truth. And as we'll discover, the reality behind federal prison policies is far more complex than many people realize. Before we begin, make sure to subscribe, turn on notifications, and stay with us until the end, because some of the details surrounding federal prison procedures may surprise you. Josh's conviction effectively ended the public career he had spent years building through reality television, public speaking appearances, and political advocacy. What had once been a carefully managed image of family leadership and conservative values was replaced by a legal case that generated headlines across the United States. For many longtime followers of the Duggar family, the outcome of the trial represented a shocking and dramatic fall from grace. After sentencing, Josh was placed into the custody of the Federal Bureau of Prisons, where he began serving his sentence at a federal correctional institution. Like any federal inmate, his daily life became governed by strict prison regulations, covering everything from housing assignments and work duties to communication with family members and visitation privileges. While his status as a former television personality attracted public attention, prison officials generally apply the same institutional rules and procedures to all inmates regardless of their previous fame. As time passed, public interest shifted from the trial itself to questions about Josh's life behind bars. Reports concerning prison conditions, inmate transfers, legal appeals, and disciplinary matters frequently generated new waves of discussion online. Supporters, critics, media outlets, and former viewers of the Duggar family's television programs closely monitored developments, often trying to determine what each new update might reveal about his situation. One aspect that consistently attracts attention is the issue of family contact. Because Josh is married and has children, many observers naturally wonder how visitation works during a lengthy federal prison sentence. Federal correctional facilities have specific policies governing who may visit inmates, under what circumstances visits occur, and what restrictions may apply. These policies can become especially sensitive when minor children are involved, particularly in cases that have already received extensive public scrutiny. That context helps explain why any report involving a prison transfer immediately attracts widespread interest. When an inmate is moved from one facility to another, people often begin asking questions. Was the transfer routine? Was it related to medical treatment? Did it involve security concerns? Could it affect visitation opportunities? In high-profile cases, speculation can spread quickly, even when very little official information is publicly available. Recently, exactly those kinds of questions began circulating once again. Reports emerged suggesting that Josh Duggar had been transferred to a federal medical center, prompting intense discussion among followers of the case. Almost immediately, social media platforms, online forums, and entertainment news outlets were flooded with theories about what the transfer might mean and whether it could potentially change the conditions of his incarceration. Before examining those claims, however, it is important to understand how the federal prison system handles inmate transfers and what a federal medical center actually is. The reality is often far more complex and far less dramatic than the rumors that quickly spread online. Yet understanding those details is essential for evaluating the questions that have fueled so much recent speculation surrounding Josh Duggar's reported transfer. When news began circulating about Josh Duggar's reported transfer to a federal medical center, many people immediately started asking questions. Some assumed that a federal medical center must be similar to a civilian hospital. Others wondered whether such a transfer meant that he was receiving special treatment or gaining access to privileges unavailable at traditional prisons. The reality is far more complex. Federal medical centers, often referred to as FMCs, are specialized institutions within the federal prison system. They are designed to provide medical and mental health services that cannot easily be delivered at standard correctional facilities. While they contain hospital units and treatment programs, they remain prisons first and foremost. Inmates housed at these facilities continue serving their sentences under federal supervision. Security protocols remain in place, inmate movements are monitored, and prison regulations still apply. The primary difference is that these facilities possess additional resources to address serious health-related needs. Some inmates are transferred because they require ongoing treatment for chronic illnesses. Others may need specialized surgeries, rehabilitation services, diagnostic testing, or long-term medical observation. Certain facilities also provide extensive mental health treatment programs for prisoners whose needs exceed what standard institutions can offer. Because these centers combine medical care with incarceration, they often create public confusion. When people hear that a prisoner has been moved to a medical facility, they sometimes imagine conditions that resemble a civilian hospital. In reality, the environment remains highly structured and heavily regulated. This distinction becomes especially important when discussing high-profile inmates. Whenever a well-known prisoner is transferred, speculation often follows. Questions quickly emerge. Why was the transfer approved? Was there a medical emergency? Did the inmate request the move? Are there hidden reasons behind the decision? In most cases, the public receives very few answers. Federal authorities generally do not release detailed medical information about inmates. Privacy laws and institutional policies limit what can be disclosed. As a result, outside observers are often left with incomplete information. That lack of information can create a vacuum that becomes filled with rumors. For someone as controversial and widely discussed as Josh Duggar, even routine administrative decisions can become major news stories. Supporters, critics, media outlets, and online commentators may all attempt to interpret limited information through their own perspectives. However, experts often caution against drawing conclusions without official confirmation. A transfer to a federal medical center can occur for a variety of reasons that have nothing to do with special treatment. In some cases, inmates are sent for evaluations. In others, they may need temporary access to equipment or specialists unavailable at their original institution. Some transfers last only a short period before the inmate returns to their previous facility. Others can remain in place for months or even years if ongoing care is necessary. What often gets lost in public discussions is that medical transfers are a normal part of federal prison operations. Thousands of inmates move through the federal system each year for administrative, security, educational, and medical reasons. The transfer itself does not automatically reveal anything about an inmate's future status, sentence, or prison privileges. This is where another common misconception emerges. Many people assume that a transfer to a federal medical center could somehow alter visitation rules. But prison visitation policies are generally governed by institutional regulations and court-imposed restrictions, not simply by the type of facility where an inmate is housed. In other words, being located at a medical center does not automatically grant expanded visitation rights. It does not automatically remove supervision requirements. It does not automatically change restrictions involving contact with minors. Any such changes would typically require separate approvals and would be subject to applicable prison policies and legal requirements. That distinction is critical because much of the speculation surrounding Josh Duggar's reported transfer centers on assumptions about visitation rather than confirmed information. Understanding how federal medical centers actually function helps separate fact from rumor. These facilities are not luxury accommodations. They are not reward centers. They are not mechanisms designed to bypass prison rules. They exist because some inmates require healthcare services that standard correctional institutions cannot adequately provide. Until officials release verified information, the precise reasons behind any specific transfer often remain unknown. What can be said with confidence is that placement in a federal medical center, by itself, does not automatically signal special privileges, reduced restrictions, or changes to existing visitation policies. As we move forward, that distinction becomes essential in evaluating the claims and speculation that continue to circulate online regarding Josh Duggar's situation. As we've explored throughout this video, the questions surrounding Josh Duggar's reported transfer have generated intense public interest, widespread discussion, and no shortage of speculation. Whenever a high-profile inmate is involved, every development tends to attract attention. In this case, the combination of Josh Duggar's public history, his criminal conviction, and reports regarding a possible transfer to a federal medical center has naturally led many people to wonder what such a move could mean. However, one of the most important lessons from this story is that not every prison transfer carries the meaning people assume it does. Federal medical centers exist within the federal prison system to address specialized medical, mental health, and treatment needs. Inmates may be transferred for a variety of administrative, medical, or security-related reasons. In many cases, the exact details behind those decisions are never publicly disclosed, and prison officials generally do not provide extensive explanations regarding individual inmate placements. That reality creates an environment where rumors can spread quickly. Questions about visitation privileges, family access, housing assignments, medical treatment, and institutional policies often become the subject of public debate long before verified information becomes available. Throughout this discussion, we've looked at how federal prison visitation policies work, how medical centers differ from traditional correctional facilities, and why assumptions about special privileges can sometimes be misleading. While some observers believe a transfer could signal one thing, others point out that there are numerous explanations that have nothing to do with visitation or family contact. What remains clear is that any decisions involving inmate visitation, particularly when minor children are involved, are governed by strict federal policies. Such matters typically require extensive review, and institutions must balance inmate rights with safety considerations and legal requirements. The broader conversation also highlights a continuing public interest in accountability. For many people, Josh Duggar's case remains a powerful reminder of the consequences that follow criminal convictions involving serious offenses, even years after sentencing. Developments related to his incarceration continue to spark strong reactions from supporters, critics, and those who followed the Duggar family's rise and fall in the public eye. At the same time, it is important to recognize the difference between verified facts and online speculation. Responsible reporting requires patience. Facts matter. Documentation matters. Official records matter. And until additional information is confirmed through reliable sources, many of the claims circulating online should be treated with caution. As new information emerges, discussions surrounding Josh Duggar's incarceration, prison placement, and visitation status will likely continue. Journalists, legal observers, and members of the public will undoubtedly keep watching for updates. But for now, many questions remain unanswered, and many conclusions simply cannot be drawn based on the information currently available. Ultimately, this story serves as a reminder that prison administration is often far more complex than it appears from the outside. Transfers happen, policies evolve, circumstances change, yet the public rarely sees the full picture behind those decisions. We'll continue to follow any verified developments as they become available and provide updates based on confirmed information rather than speculation. Thank you for spending your time with us today. If you found this video informative, be sure to like, subscribe, and share your thoughts in the comments below. We always appreciate hearing your perspective on these developing stories. Until next time, thank you for watching, stay informed, and take care.